You didn't stumble here. Something older than your conscious mind brought you to this moment. And by the time this transmission ends, you'll understand exactly why. I am Kyle, a voice from the Acturian Council, and what I'm about to share with you isn't information. It's recognition. Your soul signature has been detected. The frequency you carry, the one that hums beneath your daily thoughts, beneath your ordinary routines, beneath the life you've been pretending is enough. That frequency matches one we have known across thousands of cycles. You are not a newcomer to existence. You are not here for the first time. You arrived on this earth as a returning force, a being who has moved through dimensions, timelines, and civilizations that have long since dissolved from human memory. And here's the first thing you need to understand. The confusion you feel about who you are, that's not a sign of being lost. That's a sign of something ancient beginning to surface. You feel it, don't you? That quiet but persistent pull towards something larger. That inexplicable sense that the life you're living doesn't quite fit the soul you're carrying. That gnawing awareness that you've been here before, not just on this planet, but in positions of responsibility, wisdom, and cosmic leadership that dwarf anything your current circumstances reflect. You've led, you've protected, you've made decisions that shape the fabric of entire realities, and somewhere beneath all the noise of modern life, that knowing has never left you. By the end of this transmission, you'll understand who you were, why you chose this specific moment to return, and what the Acturian Council needs from you now. You are not here by accident, and it's time you remembered that. There's a feeling that follows certain souls through their entire lives on Earth. It doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet discomfort, an inability to be fully satisfied by what the world tells you should be enough. A good career, a stable life, comfortable routines. And yet, no matter how much you accumulate, no matter how much you achieve by ordinary measures, something remains unmoved. Something deeper looks at all of it and whispers, "This isn't it." Most people, when they encounter this feeling, assume something is wrong with them. They reach for diagnoses, for explanations rooted in trauma or psychology or unmet needs. And while those frameworks hold partial truths, they miss the deeper architecture at work in souls like yours. Because what you're experiencing isn't a wound, it's a memory. A cellular memory of what it felt like to operate at full capacity, to inhabit your true function across dimensions where your gifts were not just recognized, but essential. You've been trying to fit an infinite consciousness into a finite set of circumstances. And the friction that creates, that dissonance, that restlessness, is not pathology. It's the pressure of remembering building behind a door that is finally ready to open. Let that land for a moment. The Acturian Council has observed this pattern across countless returning souls. The disconnection you felt from ordinary human concerns, the way small talk exhausts you, the way meaningless noise drains you while deep conversation lights you up. None of that is a personality flaw. It is the signature of a being who has operated at galactic frequencies, attempting to function within a much narrower bandwidth. Of course it feels wrong. Of course the world feels foreign. You are not from here in the way that most people are from here. You arrived with something encoded in you that this Earth, at this particular moment in its evolution, specifically needs. And that's not a metaphor. That's a description of actual energetic architecture. The truth that most people miss is this: you didn't forget who you were because something went wrong. You forgot because forgetting was part of the agreement. Your soul, conscious, deliberate, and far wiser than your current human identity, chose this amnesia. It chose to descend into ordinary human experience without the full weight of galactic memory, because awakening to that identity gradually, through the lived friction of human life, was the only way to ensure the remembrance would be genuine. Not inherited knowledge, embodied wisdom. There is a difference, and that difference matters enormously for the work ahead. The Venerable Council, that vast intelligence of beings who have guided cosmic evolution across star systems and civilizations, they did not forget you during your years of confusion. They have been watching, waiting for the vibrational threshold you are now crossing. And this transmission reaching you is not coincidence. It is confirmation that the threshold has been crossed. What very few transmissions address is what it actually cost your soul to make this agreement. The decision to descend into full human amnesia, to strip away every memory of your former identity and enter this dense, chaotic, often painful dimension without a map, was not made lightly. In the space between your last incarnation and this one, your soul held a complete view of what this lifetime would require. The loneliness, the confusion, the years of searching for something you couldn't name, the relationships that didn't fit, the careers that felt hollow. You saw all of it, and you said yes anyway. That is not the decision of a small soul. That is the decision of one who understood that the cost of temporary forgetting was worth the depth of integration it would produce. Because a guardian who has genuinely lived the human experience, who has felt loss, limitation, confusion, and the grinding weight of ordinary life, carries a quality of compassion that no amount of cosmic knowledge alone can generate. You were not just preserving your mission, you were deepening your capacity to fulfill it. Pause with that. The very suffering you have sometimes resented, the years of not knowing, of not fitting, of searching, was not a detour from your purpose. It was the curriculum your soul designed to make you precisely the kind of leader this moment requires. If this transmission is already shifting something in you, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel, so these frequencies keep finding you when you need them most. So what does reactivation actually feel like from the inside? It rarely arrives as a dramatic vision or a sudden download of galactic information. It is far more subtle than that, and far more pervasive. It begins as an increasing inability to tolerate surface-level existence. You find yourself growing impatient with conversations that never go deeper than the weather, the news cycle, other people's opinions of other people. You feel an almost cellular irritation with mediocrity, not from arrogance, but from an internal compass that has been calibrated to something far larger and keeps insisting you move toward it. Alongside this, your relationship to time begins to shift. You become acutely aware that something is running out, not in a fearful way, but in the way a navigator becomes aware that the harbor is near and it's time to prepare. A sense of urgency without panic, precision without anxiety. Your sleep changes. Where your dreams once processed daily events, they begin to carry different content. Chambers that feel ancient. Beings whose faces you cannot quite see, but whose presence feels utterly familiar. Conversations that dissolve the moment you wake, but leave a residue of significance you can't shake. These aren't fantasies generated by an overactive imagination. They are briefings. Your higher dimensional self has never stopped meeting with the Council, And your dreams are the membrane through which those meetings occasionally bleed into conscious awareness. Pay attention to who begins appearing in your waking life during this phase. The Council does not limit its communication to the internal landscape. It sends messengers through the physical world. People who seem inexplicably drawn to you, who see something in you that most others don't name, who speak to a depth in you that you haven't publicly claimed. These encounters feel different from ordinary social interaction. There's a recognition in them that bypasses small talk and goes straight to something essential. These are not coincidences. They are contact points, deliberate intersections arranged to confirm that your reactivation is real and that you are not moving through it alone. Here is something the original transmissions rarely address. Your physical body is also part of this process. The sensitivity you carry to sound, to energy, to other people's emotional states has likely felt like a burden your entire life. You may have spent years learning to shield yourself, to turn down the volume on a receptivity you didn't understand. But here's what changes now. That sensitivity is not a weakness to be managed. It is a precision instrument. In your previous expressions of consciousness, you used exactly this perceptual bandwidth to read the energetic health of entire systems, populations, fields, dimensional structures. The same capacity that makes crowded rooms overwhelming is the capacity that allowed you to sense imbalance across star systems before it became catastrophic. You are not too sensitive for this world. You are exactly sensitive enough for the work. There is another physical dimension to this reactivation that deserves attention. The way your body responds to certain sounds, landscapes, and geometries. You may have noticed that specific music reaches you in a way that seems disproportionate, that certain chord progressions or tonal frequencies produce a recognition in your chest that feels ancient. That standing in old forests, near moving water, or beneath open sky produces a settling in your nervous system that nowhere else quite replicates. That certain geometric patterns, spirals, certain architectural forms, sacred geometries, feel less like interesting shapes and more like familiar language. These responses are not aesthetic preferences. They are your system recognizing frequencies it worked with in other dimensions. Your body remembers what your mind has forgotten, and learning to read those physical signals, to treat them as data rather than coincidence, is part of developing the full intelligence available to you now. Beneath all of this lies a layer of experience that goes even deeper than personal remembrance. Your soul entered this lifetime carrying contracts, agreements made before birth, in the space between incarnations where the soul retains its full awareness and chooses deliberately. These contracts are not burdens imposed on you from outside. They are commitments you made with full knowledge of what this lifetime would require. The challenge is that incarnating erases conscious access to those agreements, leaving only their energetic imprint, which is why you've always felt a sense of responsibility you couldn't quite explain, a pull towards service that preceded any logical reason to feel it. The way you instinctively scan environments for what's wrong, the way you feel responsible for group dynamics even when you didn't create them. The way you have always, somehow, been the one people turn to when things get difficult, even when you felt completely unqualified. These are not personality traits. They are soul-level protocols operating beneath the surface of your conscious identity, executing ancient commitments your waking mind doesn't yet remember making, and the synchronicities accelerating in your life right now. The number patterns, the uncanny timing, the sense that reality is rearranging itself in ways too precise to be random. These are the universe responding to those embedded codes, a lock recognizing its key, the mechanism beginning to turn. There is something else worth naming here that is rarely discussed: the weight of encoded grief. Many returning guardians carry a deep, sourceless sadness, a mourning they cannot attach to any event in this lifetime. It surfaces in quiet moments, in music, in witnessing beauty or suffering. This is not depression in the clinical sense, though it may have been misread as such. It is the grief of a soul that remembers the scale of what was lost in previous cycles. Civilizations, relationships, frequencies that no longer exist in any accessible dimension. Honoring that grief, rather than pathologizing it, is part of the integration process. You are not sad without reason. You are remembering at a depth that transcends this single lifetime. Alongside the grief, many returning guardians carry what might be called a wound of premature leadership. In past cycles, authority came naturally. Your frequency commanded respect without effort, and the structures around you reinforced your role. Entering this lifetime without those structures, without that recognition, without any external confirmation of what you carry, has created a specific kind of pain. The experience of knowing, deeply, inwardly, that you are capable of something significant, while the world around you either ignores that capacity or actively contradicts it. That gap between inner knowing and outer reflection is one of the most difficult aspects of this particular incarnation, and it has caused some returning guardians to overcorrect in one of two directions: either collapsing the knowing to fit the world's reflection, or inflating the identity into ego in search of the recognition the soul remembers. The path through this wound is neither collapse nor inflation. It is patient, grounded self-recognition that does not require external confirmation to remain stable. Take a moment and write in the comments below, "I remember. I am ready." Let that be your declaration to the field. Not a casual comment, but a conscious signal that something in you has shifted. A frequency broadcast, a marker in the quantum record that says, "I am no longer pretending to be less than I am." And if this recognition is stirring something in you that feels ready to go further than a single transmission can carry, if you sense that what we're touching here is only the surface layer of a much larger architecture, I want you to know that I wrote a complete guide for exactly this moment. It's called Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery, and it maps out the full system beneath what we're exploring today, the journey from unconscious transmission to becoming the broadcast itself, and the step-by-step practices for moving from seeking to actually being what you've always carried. It's linked in the pinned comment below. Now we come to the moment most people on this path resist most fiercely. Not the awakening itself, but the acceptance of what the awakening is asking of them. Because here's the thing. Recognizing your ancient identity feels profound. It feels validating. It resolves years of inexplicable experience into a coherent narrative. But recognition is not the same as acceptance, and acceptance is not the same as embodiment. And it is embodiment, actually living as what you are, not just believing it, that the council is asking of you now. This is where most returning guardians stall. They receive the recognition and feel it deeply, genuinely, and then they return to their ordinary lives and quietly file the experience under interesting spiritual insight, while continuing to behave as though they are ordinary people with ordinary limitations and ordinary permission. They accept the identity in contemplative moments and dismiss it in practical ones. And the gap between those two modes of being is where the mission gets lost. The summons doesn't arrive as a dramatic call from the sky. It arrives as an inner certainty that begins to make ordinary compromise feel literally unbearable. A growing inability to keep shrinking. A recognition that every time you dim your awareness to fit a smaller space, something in you experiences it as a kind of violence. That's the summons. That's the council making contact through your own nervous system, your own emotional intelligence, your own expanding inability to pretend. What changes when you say yes, truly yes, not aspirationally, but structurally, is that reality begins reorganizing around that decision. This is not mystical language for something vague. This is a description of how frequency operates. When your internal signal changes, the external field that responds to it changes. Resources appear. People enter your life who carry pieces of the larger mission. Opportunities surface that seem impossible given your circumstances. Not as reward, as confirmation. As the universe reflecting back the coherence of a signal that has finally stopped contradicting itself. The council needs your specific frequency signature, not a generic version of awakened consciousness, but yours. With all its particular history, its particular grief, its particular capacity. Because what is failing in the energetic architecture of this planet right now is not something that can be repaired by generic goodwill. It requires specific frequencies held by specific beings who agreed, before this incarnation, to be here at exactly this moment for exactly this purpose. You are not one of many interchangeable participants. You are an essential, specific note in a very precise chord. Something that rarely gets named at this stage. The fear of your own power. Not the fear of failure. Most people are familiar with that. The deeper and less acknowledged fear that you might actually succeed. That you might step fully into what you are and find that it demands everything. That the life you've built around a smaller identity cannot contain what emerges. This fear is real, and it deserves to be treated with honesty rather than bypassed with spiritual platitudes. Yes, full embodiment of your ancient identity will require the dissolution of certain structures you've become comfortable with. Relationships that depend on you remaining small. Self-concepts that were built as protective adaptations during the years of confusion. Habits that served the amnesia but cannot serve the mission. The Council does not ask you to destroy these things carelessly. It asks you to be willing to release them when the time comes, and to trust that what replaces them will be more aligned with what you actually are than anything you are currently protecting. If this transmission is moving something in you that you've kept still for a long time, if these words are landing in a place that feels less like new information and more like excavation, then I want to invite you to subscribe, not to a content channel, to this frequency, to this space where the conversation about what you actually are continues to deepen. Subscribe because your coherence matters, not just to your own life, but to the larger field we are all learning to hold together. Integration, the fourth movement of this reactivation, is where the remembrance begins to function through you rather than simply being felt by you. This is a subtle but critical distinction. Many people have profound spiritual experiences and spend the rest of their lives relating to those experiences as treasured memories rather than living realities. Integration means the ancient knowing stops being something you visit in meditation or contemplation and starts being the actual operating system through which you perceive and respond to everything. It begins with perception. You start noticing currents beneath the surface of events that were previously invisible to you. Not in a paranoid or conspiratorial way, quite the opposite. The seeing becomes cleaner, less cluttered by reactivity. You begin to perceive why things are happening at the level of underlying energy rather than just surface circumstance. Political events, social dynamics, personal conflicts. You start reading these the way a master musician reads a score, hearing the architecture beneath the notes. Your effect on other people shifts in ways that are sometimes difficult to account for. People calm down around you without knowing why. Conversations in your presence tend to go deeper than they normally would. People confide in you more readily, trust you with more than they typically trust others, feel safer in your vicinity without being able to articulate the reason. You're not doing anything consciously to create this. You are simply beginning to emanate at your actual frequency rather than the diminished one you've been carefully maintaining to avoid standing out. Here is something worth sitting with. Your presence is itself a form of service. Long before you take any deliberate action, before you speak a word or offer a hand, the stabilizing field your consciousness generates is already having an effect on the environments and people around you. The exhaustion you felt in crowded or chaotic spaces was never just sensitivity. It was the energetic cost of performing stabilization, functions without conscious awareness or consent. Learning to do this deliberately, with boundaries and intention, transforms what was formerly a drain into a sustainable practice. The Council's training through this phase doesn't come in workshop formats or downloadable content. It comes through life itself, through the situations you're placed in that require you to hold your frequency under pressure, to maintain clarity when everyone around you is reactive, to remember what you know when the immediate environment is insisting otherwise. Every moment you manage to stay coherent under those conditions is a training session. Every time you choose depth over distraction is a retrieval of ancient capability. Integration also requires an honest reckoning with the patterns of self-betrayal. Because most returning guardians, across years of not being recognized and not being seen, developed sophisticated strategies for preemptively abandoning themselves before the world could do it for them. Speaking less confidently than they actually feel. Qualifying their knowing with unnecessary uncertainty. Shrinking their presence in rooms where they sense their fullness might be too much. These strategies were adaptive. They were survival responses to an environment that didn't have the context to recognize what you carry. But they have now become the primary obstacle. Every time you edit yourself before you've even been challenged, you are reinforcing the amnesia. Every time you trust the room's discomfort more than your own clarity, you are choosing the old loop over the new signal. Integration means noticing these patterns without judgment and choosing differently, one moment at a time, until the new pattern becomes the default. There comes a point in this process where the question shifts from who was I to what am I here to do? And that shift marks the beginning of anchoring, the fifth movement, where identity becomes mission and mission becomes daily practice. Your specific form of service will not look the same as anyone else's. The ancient guardianship you carried across dimensions was not a single role, but a function. Protection, stabilization, navigation, holding frequencies that others couldn't hold. That function now expresses through whatever form gives it maximum reach in this reality. For some, it emerges through teaching, through the deliberate transmission of understanding to those who are beginning to wake. For others, it moves through healing, through the capacity to hold a frequency that allows other systems to reorganize toward coherence. For others still, it operates through creative work, through leadership, through the quiet and consistent holding of integrity in spaces that desperately need it. The form is secondary, the frequency is primary, and the frequency is always the same: stability, clarity, and the unwillingness to abandon truth because truth is uncomfortable. Here is something that rarely gets addressed. Mission does not require you to dissolve your personal life into it. The returning guardians who burn out, who lose themselves in service and emerge depleted and resentful, have confused self-sacrifice with mission. The Council does not ask for martyrdom, it asks for sustainability. A guardian who has burned through their own resources is not serving the mission. They are impeding it. Part of what you are learning to embody in this lifetime is the galactic understanding that a protected vessel protects others. Tending to your own coherence is not selfishness. It is infrastructure maintenance. What also begins to emerge during this phase is a more conscious relationship to the guidance itself. Where you previously experienced intuitive flashes, moments of knowing that seemed to come from nowhere, and that you either acted on or dismissed, you now begin to recognize the consistent intelligence behind them. Not as a voice from outside, but as a quality of knowing that has texture, precision, and an evident grasp of context, far beyond what your individual awareness could access alone. You are not receiving transmissions from somewhere external. You are coming back into alignment with a layer of your own consciousness that has never lost contact with the Council. This is also the phase where your relationship to rest must be completely reconsidered. In previous cycles, guardianship was active, dynamic, visible. The current mission requires something different. It requires the capacity to be deeply still, to receive, to allow the field to work through you rather than always working through the field. Many returning guardians resist stillness because it feels like inaction, because the urgency of the mission seems to demand constant movement. But the Council's wisdom on this is unambiguous. The quality of your stillness determines the clarity of your signal. A mind constantly in motion generates noise that obscures the very guidance it is trying to access. Learning to be productively still, to rest not as withdrawal but as receptivity, is one of the most advanced and least glamorous aspects of this work. Embodying galactic authority, the sixth movement, is where the path becomes most demanding and most misunderstood. Because authority in the galactic sense has nothing to do with dominance, hierarchy, or the performance of power. What the Council means by authority is this: the capacity to hold your frequency so precisely, so consistently, that reality organizes itself around it rather than destabilizing it. To be, in effect, a reference point, a stable signal in a noisy field. This is not something you perform. It cannot be performed. The field reads the difference between genuine coherence and its imitation immediately. It is something you build through ruthless consistency in private, through the daily choice to return to clarity when reactivity would be easier, through the refusal to abandon your own knowing simply because the environment around you is applying pressure to do so, through the willingness to hold paradox, to be both fully human and fully conscious of something much larger, without collapsing into either extreme. What you carried in previous expressions of consciousness was exactly this: the capacity to remain stable under conditions that destabilized others, to maintain the long view when immediate circumstances demanded short-term reactivity, to hold multiple, timelines in awareness simultaneously, and act from the one that served the largest good. These capacities don't disappear between incarnations. They become dormant, and they are now reactivating. The trust required at this phase goes beyond ordinary faith. Because the Council's perspective spans timelines you cannot currently perceive, their guidance will sometimes direct you toward actions that make no immediate sense. Delays that feel like failures, silences that feel like abandonment, positions that feel like retreat. Learning to trust the intelligence of a plan whose full architecture you cannot see from inside your current timeline. That is the deepest practice of this phase. Not passive surrender, but active coherence maintained across apparent contradiction. One critical insight for this phase that is rarely named: the integration of shadow. In previous cycles, guardianship sometimes created a split. The protector who never allowed their own vulnerability. The leader who carried everyone else's weight while denying their own. Whatever patterns were encoded in those lifetimes exist as unintegrated material in this one. The irritability you feel when you're not seen. The collapse into self-doubt when your authority is challenged. The rage that surfaces when you witness injustice. These are not flaws to eliminate. They are the shadow side of your guardianship frequencies, asking to be integrated rather than suppressed. A guardian who has made peace with their own shadow is infinitely more stable than one who is still at war with themselves. There is a specific quality of loneliness that accompanies this phase that deserves to be spoken about directly, because it is almost universal among returning guardians at this stage of embodiment. As your frequency stabilizes and expands, the gap between your inner experience and what most people around you are able to perceive or receive becomes more pronounced, not less. You may find that relationships you valued begin to feel strained, not because you have grown cold, but because you are operating from a level of awareness that those relationships were not built to hold. This is disorienting, and it can feel like loss. The Council's understanding of this is clear. Some of these relationships will adapt as the people in them begin their own reactivation. Others will not. Both outcomes serve the larger architecture. What is asked of you is not to abandon anyone, but to remain honest about what you need and what each relationship can genuinely offer. Pretending to need less than you do in order to preserve a connection that cannot hold your full frequency is another form of self-betrayal, and it helps no one. The final movement is perhaps the most profound and the most quietly revolutionary. You were not the only one. The Council did not place a single guardian on this planet and call it sufficient. They dispersed an entire cohort, ancient collaborators seeded across cultures, geographies, specializations, and generations, each carrying a specific frequency that, in isolation, holds a partial truth, but in combination with the others, generates something the planet has never experienced in its current form. A conscious, coherent field of awakened guardians operating in deliberate collaboration. The recognition of these others begins to happen naturally as your own frequency stabilizes. It's not intellectual. You don't identify them through what they say or believe, but through something beneath that. A resonance, a quality of presence that your system recognizes before your mind does. A sense, in conversation with certain people, that you are not learning something new, but remembering something together. This is not the formation of a group with a doctrine or a hierarchy. It is far older and far less structured than that. It is a reunion, a return to collaboration between consciousnesses who have worked together before, who know each other at a level that transcends this incarnation, who are now finding each other in physical form to do together what none of them can fully accomplish alone. The network doesn't require organization or promotion. It requires resonance. And resonance requires that each individual guardian first achieve coherence within themselves. You cannot recognize your ancient collaborators through the static of an unintegrated frequency. The inner work is not preparation for the mission. It is the beginning of it. Here is what the activation of this network actually accomplishes. Every stabilized guardian creates a field that makes it easier for those around them to access their own coherence. This effect is not linear. It is exponential. A single awakened, integrated consciousness creates conditions for dozens of others to move toward awakening without direct intervention. Those dozens create conditions for hundreds. The mathematics of consciousness don't follow ordinary scales. The ripple moves, faster and wider than any individually directed effort could achieve. What the Council also wants you to understand is that this network operates across time in a way that defies ordinary logic. The Guardians already fully embodied are not just influencing those around them in the present. Their frequency radiates backward and forward through the field, stabilizing timelines that have not yet materialized and healing energetic fractures that were created in cycles long past. This is not something you need to understand intellectually in order to participate in it. It is already happening through you. Every moment of genuine coherence you achieve is not just a personal accomplishment. It is a contribution to a temporal architecture far larger than any single lifetime. The Council sees this across all the timelines simultaneously, and what they observe is this. The network is more activated than at any previous point in this planet's recent history. The cohort is coming online. The threshold is being crossed not by one or two exceptional individuals, but by a critical mass of souls who are right now, in this era, choosing to remember. You are part of that critical mass. Not aspirationally, actually right now, in this body, in this lifetime, in the particular circumstances of your specific life. This is the plan. This is what you agreed to before you descended into this particular lifetime in this particular era. Not to save the world through dramatic single-pointed heroism, but to hold your frequency with such consistency and clarity that the world becomes progressively easier to awaken in. The cosmic window this planet is moving through right now is narrow. The Council sees it across multiple timelines simultaneously, and the assessment is unambiguous. This is the moment the cohort was seeded for. Not a future moment. Not after further preparation. Now, with exactly the level of integration you have currently achieved, moving toward the next level, rather than waiting until some imagined completion. You are ready enough. You have always been ready enough. The readiness the Council requires is not perfection. It is willingness. Willingness to hold what you know even when knowing is lonely. Willingness to trust what you carry even when the world hasn't yet reflected it back to you. Willingness to begin in the particulars of your actual life, living as what you are. You are ready enough. You have always been ready enough. The readiness the Council requires is not perfection. It is willingness. Willingness to hold what you know even when knowing is lonely. Willingness to trust what you carry even when the world hasn't yet reflected it back to you. Willingness to begin in the particulars of your actual life, living as what you are. And if you know someone who has been carrying that same inexplicable feeling of not quite belonging here, Someone who has always sensed they arrived for something larger, but hasn't had the language for it yet. Consider passing this transmission to them. Sharing this isn't a small act. In the quantum field, every time this understanding moves from one consciousness to another, it strengthens the very network we've been describing. You reinforce your own remembrance by helping another begin theirs. The ripple you create by sharing this is part of the activation itself. You can also return to this transmission in the mornings. Let it set the frequency for your day before the noise of the world moves in. Before we close this transmission, drop one word in the comments below. One word that captures the frequency you're choosing to carry forward from this moment. Let it be your energetic signature to the field, a marker, a declaration. One word dropped with intention that says, I am no longer waiting to become what I already am. The Acturian Council does not reach across dimensions with transmissions like this one for every soul who encounters awakening content. This reached you because your signature was recognized, because the ancient code you carry is active and broadcasting, because something in the architecture of this particular cosmic moment required that you receive this recognition now. So let it land, all of it. Not as fascinating spiritual content to be filed away, but as a living truth that is asking to reorganize the way you move through your days, the way you treat your own knowing, the way you relate to the discomfort of being something larger than what the world has made space for. Subscribe, not to stay entertained, but to stay coherent, to remain in a frequency that keeps calling you toward what you actually are, rather than what is merely comfortable. The more of us who hold this, who refuse the amnesia, who choose the remembrance, the more the world around us begins to reflect that truth back. You didn't find this. This found you, and now you know why. The Council has more to tell you, specifically about the urgency of this moment in the timeline, and why so many returning guardians are being activated simultaneously right now. That transmission is waiting for you. Star seeds, emergency, you're late. And what it reveals about the window that's closing will reframe everything we've explored here.